Hey everybody, welcome to day minus 17. Like I said yesterday, I'm just going to count down the days instead of going up now since I messed up my math. Sorry about my foot. I broke my pinky toe this morning, so that's why I'm only wearing one sock. But anyway, I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday and talk about the aftermath of what happened after my dad's funeral and what happened between me and Chrissy. Also, my voice is a little weird, so bear with me. As I said yesterday, I was a little, I'm not even going to say a little, I was pretty mad. I was pretty mad at Chrissy, and there are a lot of times in my life where I feel that, or there are a lot of times in our relationship where I felt that maybe I was a little out of line, maybe I was a little thinking too much into it, but, this was not one of those times. In my mind, there was not really any excuse at all for her to miss my dad's funeral. And I remember the whole week after just being pretty down in the dumps, just laying in bed, not really doing anything. And I'm pretty sure my family, chalked it up to my dad's passing, and that was probably 80% true. I mean, not to take his passing lightly, I was pretty bummed out that he was gone. Like I said yesterday, I didn't have that father figure to turn to anymore in my life. I mean, I probably could have used it then, but there was definitely still a piece of me that was definitely bothered just by this whole situation. I mean, if I remember right, I think she tried calling and texting me for a week, and I just wouldn't have it. In my mind, I was like, she missed the funeral. There was no excuse for it. There was no, I didn't need to listen to her explanation, because I thought in my mind that it didn't matter, what she would say, that I wouldn't even be reasonable. But eventually my head kind of cooled down a little bit. After that first week, I decided that even if I thought that she was still wrong, and I probably would have thought that either way, I still at least owed it to her to at least listen to her, no matter what the excuse was, even if it was a terrible one. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, so I called her up and asked to meet her, so she could explain explain why. And so when we met and she started to explain everything, I don't like to toot my own horn. I don't like to be like, I told you so, but when her first words out of her mouth was that, the night of the wake, that, she was showing her family, I think it was downtown, I want to say, around, like, to show them the sights. When I found out that it was really, backing up, when she said that, I could kind of blame Robert in this whole situation, like, if you don't know who that is, I mean, that was from the other day, Chrissy's first kiss from Georgia, but, when she said that, I hate to say told you so to myself, but that's really what it was. And I usually am not always the best judge of character. I don't always, whenever I think someone might be bad, I don't always think that that's definitely true. But, it just, there's just something about that guy that I'm not even afraid to admit that I hate the guy. I don't even want to talk to him today, much less back then. And, it's not just this. I mean, you'll understand why in the coming vlogs. She's playing the story that they were going around downtown, going to sites, and, she was trying to wrap it up quickly because she did want to go to the wake, but it was Robert that suggested that they, hit the town, go to a bar to have a couple drinks. And I remember when she told me that, she didn't want to, and, on one hand, I wanted to joke and be like, are you sure? Because, I know how she is, but I kind of knew that was one of the instances where she was telling the truth, that she really didn't want to go, because, I know that she wanted to at least think about going, even though she didn't, to the wake and then the funeral. But so, eventually, they did. And I don't remember this story specifically because it was a really long story, but in a nutshell, what happened, Chrissy said, was that, they went bar hopping, and I think she said it was her and her older sister that doesn't drink, where the designated drivers really. And so, Robert, her dad, really just, really got wasted that night and had a really fun time, I guess, to the point where she's, in Chrissy's words, that she's lucky that none of them got arrested. None of them were kicked out of anything, because, by the time that they got home, it looked pretty bad. And that's what she said. She said that, basically, to sum it up, that she couldn't make it to the funeral because she was tending to her dad and Robert the next morning, because they were, completely hungover and everything. And because they'd stayed out that pretty late. And so, after hearing that story, I was just like, on one hand, I was still pretty mad because it didn't really matter what she said. I still didn't care because she still missed the funeral. And I guess that's the one instance where you can figure that maybe I was being a little too harsh in that regard. But I guess after listening to her story, I was, I at least eased up a little bit on her, in the sense that, I said yesterday that after she missed the funeral, that in my mind, that we were through, that it wasn't even a question of when anymore. But, after hearing that, even if she was only partly telling the truth, even unless the end game was wrong, unless, she was lying about, the morning after, I at least understood, even if I didn't like it, I understood where she was coming from and why she did miss it. But, after that, we had a really long talk. I won't get into too much of the details, but, I guess it calmed me down a little bit, like I said. I didn't think that everything was going to implode soon anymore. I still wasn't exactly sure of what was going to happen, because the fact of the matter was still that ever since Chrissy went to Georgia that we had started to drift apart. That the one really big strength we had in our relationship, telling the truth to each other, being honest with each other, wasn't there anymore. And I don't know if anything was going to be able to change that. Even though she told me all that about why she missed the funeral, she could have just told me that night, or that day I should say, that she wasn't going to be able to make it. Even if she thought in her mind that she might be able to, I mean, she could have at least told me what was going on, and I think that's what really still bothered me. So I guess, like, instead of just knowing that we were done, it went back to just wondering how much, if we were still going to last, how much longer we would last, if even. It was just like, it was going from definite certainty that we were going to break up to just a mild uncertainty to, I still thought that we weren't going to be, I still was worried about what was going to happen to us, but it wasn't as bad anymore after hearing that. And that's probably where I'm going to end today's vlog. Like I said before, there's, I think, 17 more. You can check the math. I'm going up to Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday will be my last vlog. But yeah, the only thing I have left to say is that if you've been watching this from the beginning, and now you know that I accidentally missed a week or left out a week, and you're like, you're like, oh God, he's gonna add more filler. It's not necessarily true. I'm not. I'm gonna end it soon. Like, I'm gonna end our story, I should say, soon. But also, like, if you've been watching this and you figure you know what's gonna happen, because I've said that obviously we're not together anymore, so there's definitely an end game coming. If you think that you know what's gonna happen, you don't. I don't want to sound mean. I don't want to sound narcissistic, but the story's really just begun to hit its stride, and all I can say is for you to hang on and enjoy the ride. And until next time, until tomorrow, see ya.